It is KUGAN CASSIUS for IFL TV, proudly sponsored by Everlast. Delighted to be joined by Mr. Craig Richards, aka Spider. How are you, mate?
I'm good, I'm good. Just been working hard, training hard. You know how it is.
You look like you're sat in a doctor's surgery, bro.
Do you know what it is? It's the blinds. It's the blinds I got in my front room.
It's like you're waiting for results. I don't know.
Nah, no results.
That ain't this kind of chat. Let's move away from this. It's not that kind of chat. It's not that kind of chat. Yeah, Craig, listen, obviously wanted to get you on with your thoughts over... I've seen kind of a little bit of not even a split side to this. Before last night's win for Dimitri Bivol, I only really saw kind of probably about 2 or 3 people on my social media that were kind of outright backing. I think people have to realise there's ways of wording it. You know, you can say that Bivol was going to cause him problems and give him a tough night, but are you actually picking him? Now, there was only a couple of people that I saw that were, like, on my timeline anyway, that were saying, look, I think Bivol wins. Now, I consider this a shock because I didn't really see... I was kind of in that bracket of him giving Canelo moments in the fight, but not doing enough to win the fight. So that was my take beforehand. But what did you think prior to this, if you're being honest?
For being honest, I said Bivol's got very fast hands. His speed is unbelievable. He's got good footwork, very good defense. But when I obviously boxed him, I got to him in the later rounds. I was able to finally get to the body, and you saw the later rounds, 10, 11, and 12. He ended up slowing down dramatically, and I thought if he does that with Canelo, he'll be in problems. But on the flip side, I thought, will Canelo be able to take his power at light heavyweight? Because he's naturally a bigger man. And we saw when Kovalev boxed Canelo, although the scorecard said one thing, we know that he was really outboxing Canelo with the size. Obviously, and that was a shot Kovalev, not the best of Kovalev's, he's eventually got to him. And we knew Bivol was fresh in his prime. So I thought the size would be a bit of a disadvantage, but I thought, will he be able to get to him later? That's the question mark, what I always said. How will he take his power? How he carries his power at light heavyweight and how he takes the power at light heavyweight was the question mark for me. And that's where I was like, not sure. I know Bivol's a serious operator, good speed, but I'm just not sure how Canelo moves up in weight. And then when I saw him in the week, I looked at his body. It didn't look as solid. Like you could see, he just put the extra weight on. And I thought, you know what? Bivol's got a massive chance here to win this.
So I'll come back to my original point. Did you think he'd actually beat him, though, in your heart of hearts? Did you think that Bivol would...
Well, I said the day before on TalkSport that I feel if it goes to points, Bivol wins, but they might not give him a decision.
That's still not answering the question, bro.
I did think he'd win. I thought he'd win, but I didn't know if he'd get the decision in Vegas on Cinco de Mayo. But I said if it goes to points, I think he'll win in our eyes, but the judges might not give it to him.
I mean, let's talk about a little bit of the aftermath of some of the comments. Obviously, it looks like, which is a no-brainer, that Canelo will activate the rematch clause to get a second stab at Dimitri Bivol. I wanted your opinion. Have you watched the fight, first of all? Have you watched it all the way through round 1 to 12?
Yeah, of course. I didn't stay up late last night, but I watched it all in DAZN this morning. Okay.
So let me ask your opinion. After 4 rounds, all 3 judges had your man up by 4 rounds.
Yeah, that's mad. That was mental. That was mental. I feel like the first 4 was competitive, but I would have swayed maybe towards 3-1 Bivol, but at best, call it 2-2 at best. 2-2.
Sorry, sorry, just some people, obviously in reference to, they had Canelo up. I said your man, but Canelo up 4 rounds after the first 4. So, yeah, that was interesting. I mean...
That's exactly what I meant about the judging for him in Vegas. That's exactly what I was talking about. And even if he didn't win that 12th round, all 3 judges would have had it a draw. 113, 115. That means 1 round, it would have been a draw if he didn't win that 12th round. And that was the concern I said the day before.
From Canelo's comments afterwards, I mean, I think kind of Canelo handled his defeat. Obviously, his first defeat since 2013, which he's only career loss before that to Floyd Mayweather. So he's almost been an unbeaten fighter in that kind of 9-year period. It's a long time at elite level to maintain that. But he believes that he should have won a close fight. I mean, watching that, I mean, I will watch it again later on tonight, but I didn't see it as a kind of cause for any kind of robbery. I thought it was a comfortable, but there was a few rounds in it in Bivol's favour. Would you agree with that?
Look, the best you would have given Canelo, maximum 4 rounds. I think there would have been at least 8 clear rounds that Bivol won very comfortably. I feel he dominated the fight. He finished strong. He controlled the fight. Canelo was out of ideas. He was loading up shots, and it never phased Bivol, where most people start unraveling. Bivol stuck to his game plan, stayed disciplined, and he never unraveled. I think he just boxed the perfect textbook fight.
So this comes on to, obviously, you, and quite well placed 2 weeks before your own big fight against Buatsi on the 21st of May at the O2. Now, yeah. I see a lot of people kind of mentioning your name yesterday. And when you suffered that defeat to Bivol, there was a few people I saw questioning how good Bivol was. And I thought that was quite disrespectful to you, because now they're questioning how good he is because you gave him a decent fight.
Yeah.
Right. You saw that. Listen, I'm not just making it up. You saw that.
No, I saw that too.
Right. Okay. So now, questions are, right?
Yeah.
Are you now better than what people think you are because of the performance that you put in against Dimitri Bivol?
I think definitely it speaks for itself. I think if you see the performance I put in against him against the performance Canelo put in against him, you saw our fight was close. You knew if I just started 1 round earlier, I would have won the fight. And I gave him problems, you know, and I had to go through negative. If you watch my fight, you can see that even through negative commentary, negative people always trying to push the agenda, pushing me down. He had an off night. Every time I beat someone, they had an off night. I'm like, how comes it can never be that I'm good? When I knocked out Jake, it wasn't him in there that night. When I beat him, he had an off night. When I boxed Bivol, he must have. Why can't someone just say, you know what? Craig's good. He's making these good fighters not look as good as they was. I will never get the credit for you. And Dimitri Bivol said afterwards, this guy's IQ is very good. He's very smart. He knew everything I was going to do before I did it. And he said he was trying to set me up when I was trying to set traps for him. He said it was a thinking game. He never switched on. He's very intelligent. I remember at the back of when we went round the back after Manchester, I remember he even said to Eddie, where the F did you find this guy? Like, he was very impressed with my performance. He said it wasn't an off night. This guy's just good. And the fighter himself told you that, but yet everyone's making excuses. And I remember I had a conversation with Dimitri Bivol literally in the ring around the announcement time. And then I remember after he said, you seem a little bit disappointed. I said, yeah. He said, what do you think? I said, to be honest, at the time, I said, I felt like I'd done enough. He said, fair enough. I said, what did you think? And he said, I felt like I did enough. And I was like, okay, cool. But it was like one of them fights we both understood it was close. He did enough. Fair enough. He got the win. Great. Like, looked back, could have done more, whatever. But he identified you performed well. So how comes there's critics and people in the boxing world won't give me my credit ever? They won't give me my credit. Why don't people just say, okay, he's better than we thought he was? They won't ever just push that agenda. Why?
Well, you're getting listen, maybe too little too late, but like I said,
yeah, a lot of people's giving me the credit today now after Canelo.
Right.
Now they've compared
him to beat Canelo for you to get your credit.
Why though? Why didn't I get the credit at the time? Now, because he's beat Canelo, now people are saying, okay, well, Craig is a good fighter. He's an operator. Why? How comes? It's silly. It's silly. I should just be like looked at the performance at the night and say, do you know what? We thought he was British level. He just won the British title. He's performed way better than we thought he was at world level. Done. Like, obviously, for me, right, I went back to drum board. I got more because I want to take over the sport. I want to be at the top of the sport. I've got more to do. But so I wasn't obviously happy with how it ended, but I feel like I exceeded the critics and a lot of people's expectations on the night, and I just no one will give me the nod for that.
When you've watched that fight back, I don't know how many times you've watched it back, but I'm assuming it's more than once. Your own fight with Dimitri Bivol. Do you still believe that you did enough on the night
I felt it was a close fight.
Close
I
fight.
wouldn't.
Okay.
It was a close fight. It was a close fight. I felt like I could have started earlier. Like I watched it on another commentary the other day. Not like I followed the commentary because they're always like quite negative towards me, but I watched it back, and I feel like the back half of the fight, I clearly came on strong. You can see the punch numbers. I came on strong. You can see the marking around him. You can see him holding me in the later rounds, 11 and 12. He was holding me. And you never seen Dimitri Bivol in any fight hold on the back ends of the fights. You never see him not working even to the last goal. When you watch him, when he boxed Joe Smith Jr., he nearly actually got him out of the 12th round, and he won nearly all the other rounds. He actually stopped Sullivan Barrera after winning every round in the 12th round. Pascal, another shutout. And then you saw him against Canelo win the 12th round again. I think I was like the only person who pushed him to the late rounds where he didn't finish strong. He was tired. And I think maybe that was the thinking game in there. There was a lot of thinking. So some people watching sometimes some of the punch stats, but they're not thinking about the setting up, the IQ, the traps we were setting for each other, and the boxing and the chess match in there.
Obviously, I mean, this for you is just, like I said to you, it's in the moment of the weekend. Obviously, you know, I'm sure when you watched it, you know, you spend the day kind of getting people give you that credit. If it's late, it's late. But for you now, it is just about May 21st, because that's what
100%.
really matters for you now.
That's what matters.
Yeah.
But, to be honest, whether they give me credit or not, it doesn't change anything for me. My life doesn't. That's in the past. Like, you can't change that. If the whole world turned around and said, "We watched the Bivol fight, you're great," that makes no difference in my career at this point. Because at the end of the day, if I don't get out before May 21st, everything else I've done is dead and buried anyway. May 21st is how I'm going to push forward in my career, how I need to get the win. May 21st to push on, to get back onto that level, to kind of prove myself.
All right, here's a question for you. Do you think, and as intelligent as a fighter and as a human that Joshua Buatsi is, will Joshua Buatsi look at that performance from Bivol last night against Canelo and look at you any different?
Nah, I think he's the type of fighter, he just believes in himself, and he's not going to think too much about what I bring to the table so much, I don't reckon. I feel he's got his plan in his head and he just wants to execute his plan, and that's how he's running with this, I think.
Well, we got, like I said, just less than 2 weeks. Not this weekend coming, obviously. It'll be the weekend after. So, but I'll be honest with you, yesterday's result and performance from Bivol, it does have an extra kind of angle on your fight now with Buatsi in the eyes of the public, whether people want to admit that or not. I think that's a fair comment, that there will be definitely, I'm not saying more interest, but there will be kind of an added interest due to that fact.
I agree. I totally agree. Because I feel like, as I say, I've dealt with a lot of the negativity of a lot of critics, or like the agenda's push of commentaries making comments. I think I mentioned the other day towards the press conference, it's like, if I'm in a fight and in round 2 I got caught with 2 right hands, they'll be like, "Oh my gosh, Craig's been caught with 2 right hands. How is he going to move up in the levels if his defense ain't tight?" Where, like, I've seen fighters say, for instance, Josh or someone else, who say like they want to talk more positive. If he gets caught with 8 right hands, they'll be like, "Oh, he showed a good chin here. He's showing he's ready to move on to the next level because he showed a decent chin by getting caught with the punches, or he's displayed a good chin today." It's the way you can push an agenda. So the fans who not really know too much about boxing, they're listening to the commentary for like their knowledge. So when they're hearing things like that, they're like, "Oh, so he's the guy." And then when they're listening to my stuff, they're not looking at all my wins and my performances. They're looking at what they think the experts are saying. So in their perspective, Josh is like here and I'm here. But now they've taken into account my Bivol fight. I think now they're going to look at it like, "Oh, this fight is a lot more interest than we thought it was in the first place." And I think that's why you're right. It's more added interest, because I think with them noticing that I'm a bit better than they thought, the fight for them is more interesting, or 50-50 in their eyes.
I've seen people, like I said, state again on social media over the last sort of 15, 16 hours that, you know, you gave Bivol a tougher fight than Canelo. We know the old cliche of styles make fights. We understand that. But just as a generalisation, people or certain people believe that is the case, but you believe that's the case as well, that you've given Bivol a harder fight than what Canelo gave him.
Well, I think that was obvious. I think that was obvious. I think you watch the fight; it's definitely obvious that I gave him a harder fight. As you see how he goes back to his corner during my rounds, you can see he's breathing a lot heavier. You see at the end of the fight, he's marked up a lot more. If you look at the way he finished in my fight, 10, 11, and 12, he faded a bit. He wasn't that aggressive killer he usually finishes with other fighters, but he was able to finish like that with Canelo, not a mark on him. He was in his comfort zone. He worked when he wanted to work, and I think he showed that, I think, in around, I don't remember particular what round, it's between 6 to 8, when he threw that flurry on Canelo, and Canelo said, all right, come back. And he said, no, I'll work when I want to work. You come here. He was letting him know, no, I'll work in my own time. I'm in control here. That's what he was letting him know in there. And I felt like I didn't really allow him all the time to have his way, and especially the back end of the fight. I feel like earlier on, he was having his moments at times, but in the back end, I think I was having my moments, and I think that was the difference. And even with the VADA scoring, you saw I've literally drawn him to the closest scorecards he's ever had in his life: 114, 115, 113, 115. So you can see that I've given him a tougher test in every aspect of the fight.
Okay, well, okay, listen, like I said to you, I think after this weekend, you'll switch off from all this and just, you probably switched off from it already. I mean, we're talking about it.
No, but of course, yeah. Obviously, I'm a boxing fan as well, so I was interested in the fight myself, like everybody else. So I couldn't have the late night, so I had to go to bed as normal. As I woke up this morning, rather than watching TV, I just watched the Canelo Bivol fight. It was interesting, enjoyed it, and I moved on with my day.
Well, listen, I'm sure as the build-up goes to your fight on May 21st, you'll obviously get more and more people kind of speaking to you about what we're speaking to you about. But yeah, listen, we'll catch up. Obviously, fight week of May 21st, and yeah, it should be a good night at the O2. So
should be a very good night. Can't wait. It's going to be interesting.
On the zone. But Craig, listen, appreciate your time as always. Best of luck in the rest of your camp, and we'll definitely catch up during fight week.
Thank you for your time as always as well. Good speaking to you as always.
Top man, KUGAN CASSIUS here with Craig Richards for IFL TV. Thank you very much.
Welcome, Team Everlast, to the Team Everlast Fitness app. Download the Everlast Fitness app and find your greatness within.